It's the Sports Peninsula podcast coming up. We're kicking off the Detroit Lions 2024 NFL season as we preview the Sunday night home opener against the Matthew Stafford-led Los Angeles Rams. The Rams fell to the Lions in the first round of the 2023 playoffs 24-23 as Matt Stafford made his first visit back to Detroit since he was traded 2 seasons ago. Now the Lions are led by Jared Goff, who came to Detroit in that same deal, along with a treasure trove of draft picks that Brad Holmes and the Lions have converted into a legitimate Super Bowl contender. We'll take a look at this exciting contest and give our picks next. Now here's your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome everybody to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Drzezinski-Drew, and we're kicking off week 1 of this season, no pun intended, and we can't do that without our roundtable. Joining me, as always, first Coach Andy Shield of the Marine City Mariners. Coach, I know you're ready for football.
Yeah. We've been doing this grind for a little while now, and the Lions have been at it and had a very successful preseason. Really culminated and ended, quite well for them. And we're fairly injury free, and we go into another big home opener. Well, this is a home opener this year. Big nationally televised game for the second consecutive year. So, Lions football is certainly different, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah, that's an understatement. It's pretty popular around these parts nowadays. So we're definitely looking forward to this. And also joining us is, of course, Detroit's finest, Justin Merrick. Justin, how you doing?
Pretty good. Biggest night coming up, Sunday Night Football. All eyes are on Detroit once again. Rams coming to town. It's going to be rocking. I think it'll be even more, raucous and just louder than it was in the playoffs. A lot of hopes and dreams are on the line, and me included, with the Lions. So I can't wait. I'm ready for football.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun season for sure. And also joining us from the state of Wisconsin, but we know his heart's in the UP. Uper Brad Harrison. Brad, how you doing?
Oh, man, I am so happy to be with you guys. And I love your open, Drew, a treasure trove of draft picks. That's what we're swimming in, boys. Treasure trove of draft picks.
It truly was. Honestly, I'm certainly guilty of thinking of Jared Goff as at best going to be a bridge quarterback and hopefully get us to the next guy. And then hopefully maybe we can somehow become a playoff team again. And wow, it parlayed into something a hell of a lot bigger than that, right? So, yeah, guys, it's exciting. Right now, jumping into the season, let's talk about expectations. And, of course, a lot of teams talk about it. Lions fans have talked about it, but we're at a different level this year, Coach. What are your expectations for this season for this club?
Well, I think in fairness, just being an older gentleman that I am now, they're a little tempered. Not like, I'm going to be some sort of sympathetic guy for a 9-8 year or something like that. No, I'm not saying that, but this is just different. It's just different. Dan Campbell's doing national Applebee's commercials that have, sequels to them.
Mm-hmm.
We have, players doing national ad campaigns. The Lions are a featured team in this league. It's one of this league's. Fortunately, we don't have any home games that have been impacted by, the international games. But this is certainly a brand that the NFL is showing off because they've not been able to really ever in the modern era. So it's new. This blue and silver team that plays in a place that is absolutely raucously loud is great ad campaign for this league. And it's the expectations are you can just see them, but the team is the team, and they don't live through their reputation or expectations. They live through their work, and that's what they've been doing. We know who they are. This is not going to be something that was flimsy in 2023. This is a team that's going to compete, health, I guess, permitting, to be one of the last teams in January. That is the expectation and the feeling. And I think that's very fair. If that's what we expect, we have to take it week by week and ingest how we get there. That's what I think fans should try to do. And good Detroit fans have always been able to do that in the other sports. We can't panic if it doesn't go well on Sunday. We can't panic if we get out of the gates, maybe not perfect. There's going to be a time we want to play our best ball anyway, heading December, January into the early weeks of February. So let's temper ourselves a little bit. Let's not say 17-0 or bust. But heck yeah, it's time to get excited, folks.
Yeah, that's well said, Coach. Justin, how are you feeling about this team? What are your expectations?
I'll just echo what Coach was saying. Is I'm just very excited. I think this team, the sky's the limit. What they want to do with the addition of draft picks and free agency. These players, they put in the hard work. We've seen that in preseason, and it's going to carry over to the regular season. And I'm just excited to see them compete and play at a high level, and hopefully, get back to the NFC Championship game or do better. Because when I was in high school, my high school football coach at the end of the season, would go over, the whole season in general and say, hey, what'd you guys do? Well, we bested our, win total by 1 or 2. That's better than last year. That's improvement. Yeah, we ultimately didn't end up winning the goal of the state championship, but what he got us to, be proud of was, hey, you accomplished something. You got better than last year. So I think that's where I'm at with this team. Like Coach said, we can't panic if, say we lose this Sunday night game or, the first half of the season doesn't go our way. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Get better each game. That's what I'm looking forward to. So I'm kind of reserved with my expectations, but I think this team is capable of doing great things if they just take it one step at a time and hopefully don't get wrapped up into, this media hype. Because today on Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt has the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl. And, on Twitter, there's a lot of media, talking about the Lions, making it back to the NFC Championship game, or even, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs or Buffalo Bills or Houston Texans in the Super Bowl. So, we are in the media hype. So hopefully this team and Dan Campbell and the coaches can reel in the players and, just keep everyone on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like both you and Coach basically stay grounded, right? It's week by week, and that's the way. And that's really, Coach, like you said, it's the way we got to think about this season while we're watching it as a fan. Hubert, Brad, how you feeling about this one? What are your expectations?
Yes, so I need that team to be grounded. I need the players to take it 1 week at a time. But my expectations are just like Brad Holmes' expectations. To win a Super Bowl. I don't want the guys talking about it every week. And I appreciated when Dan Campbell said to quit talking about it, because the talk isn't going to help.
Mm-hmm.
But this roster is pristine. It's something that I've thought about it this way. I've always tried to convince myself of why the Detroit Lions could be good. Not this year, man. There is no convincing. They went beyond my expectations last year. My expectations are to win a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying they're going to have a better record. I'm not saying any of that, right? Like, this is going to be I think this is going to be a tough 18 weeks. And there's going to be ups and downs. But when the playoffs come around, they're going to be in a good spot. So my expectations aren't quite as tempered as you guys have. So
Shouldn't that's I mean, deep down inside, I feel your sentiment there, but this will let it out as it progresses. What do you feel about it, Drew? What are your expectations, my friend?
Well, I'll say this. When I was watching the NFC Championship last year, I was very, I wouldn't say stoic, but I was just focused on the game. And I wasn't really celebrating anything at halftime because I knew there were 30 more minutes to be played. And 30 more minutes got played and things changed. It is what it is. And that wasn't, an SOL type thing. It's just, that's a tough team. And when you get to this level, like the Lions are now, you're playing against the elite teams. you ain't winning games after 30 minutes. It's 60 minutes. And I know this team's capable of doing great things this year. I go back, I've said it before sometime last year and right after the season, I just feel I had the same feeling inside, like I'm freaking Nostradamus here, right? But I just feel like this team's special. And I felt this way in 84 for the Tigers. I felt this way in 89 and 90 for the Pistons. 90, to be honest, 97 didn't have that feeling until that March game for the Wings, right? Never had it for the 04 Pistons, and I didn't have it for the 08 Wings. Those teams surprised me, at least, in terms of winning a championship. I just feel this team's special. Brad, I echo your sentiment. I think they're going to be 11-6 this year. That's my gut call. And then after the season ended last year, I'm like, you know what? This team's going to the Super Bowl, but I'm going to pick them to lose to Baltimore. I'm not picking them to lose now, guys. I just can't. And that's not fandom. I really think, and Brad, you said the roster is pristine. It's as close to as we've seen. Even though there were teams in the 90s, guys, right, where we had, Barry Sanders, that secondary with Benny Blades and William White, my goodness, Ray Crockett, Chris Spielman, all those guys but there was always a spot where with the quarterback, we had uncertainty with injuries, et cetera there. In the mid 90s, Scott Mitchell just was not the guy. I mean, just wasn't. A lot of talent around him. The Jim Caldwell Lions, there was just always something missing. This team, this staff, this front office, they're complete in my mind. And I mean, is there a guarantee? Is it a letdown if they lose? Well, it depends on how it goes down. I of course we want to win the Super Bowl, and if they don't, it's going to be disappointing, especially if they get there and not take care of business. But this is going to be a fun season to watch, and I agree with all you guys. The expectations are high. I'm going out there. I know a lot of people have picked them to win the Super Bowl this year, like you guys had said earlier. So it's going to be fun watching this team develop and gel, and hopefully that happens quickly. But like you said, it's not the end of the world, guys. If it right, like you guys said, if it doesn't happen in the first half of the year. Well, let's talk about this game coming up. Let's just jump right into it. Sunday Night Football, Los Angeles Rams. I mean, guys, it was only 2 games ago that the Lions played the Rams in that playoff game and won 24-23. Sunday Night Football with Matt Stafford coming back now in the regular season. This is the injury report, though, fellas. Melifonwu is definitely still questionable. Reader's questionable. I haven't heard they're leaning any way. I don't know if he's a game-time decision. They may I don't know, Coach, do you think that's a situation that's going to be game time, or might find out a little earlier?
Well, yeah, and again, they want DJ Reader to be, a viable option, playing full steam ahead, in those, winter months. So, with the emergence of, Levi Orunzuike and the way he's played in the preseason, that certainly helps. That certainly helps us usher in DJ Reader a little more gently. And I think that is probably going to be something that we see. Yes, the Los Angeles Rams are a very formidable football team, and they're very good. They're going to be hell bent for fire. Their season ended at this stadium last year. It begins at this year. So there, and there's one other, one player there especially that I think would like to walk out of there with a little wink in his eye if he could. So yeah, it's a big football game. Yeah. So. Do we want DJ Reader to be out there? Yeah, we do, but we want a healthy, full steam ahead DJ Reader. So, yeah, I think there could be some limitations. His rotations may be limited a little bit more. We may see a little bit more Levy and some of the other guys, but, we really seasoned some players anyway in the preseason to be able to do that. So, yeah, I think we'll see a little bit less DJ Reader in week 1.
Yeah, that definitely that makes sense. Especially didn't get a lot of practice, didn't really get any practice time other than maybe the last week or so. So yeah, I agree with you. There's no need to rush him, especially with the way Onwuzurike played on the preseason. You're right, Justin. Looking at the Rams here, with Alaric Jackson out, McDermott injured, and then with Havenstein, he's limited. I got a feeling he might go. That's just my gut on this one. Just happened to listen to Sean McVay's press conference a little bit ago, talking about him. He was a limited participant in practice, but they're missing their bookends there. That can't be good news for Matt Stafford.
No, it cannot. And then there's also another switch to the Los Angeles Rams offensive line. Former Lion Jonah Jackson, he's not going to be playing guard. He's going to be their center. So Steve Avila takes over. McVay said he feels comfortable with Avila taking over at the guard position. Obviously, Jonah Jackson showed a lot of versatility here. That's why he's getting the nod, and rightfully so. But another one that popped up today on the defensive side for the Rams is Darius Williams. Their starting cornerback. He's going to be out. So that is going to be huge. And I'm sure Ben Johnson is going over his playbook right now and seeing, what he could come up with. And Dan Campbell also said today, obviously they've had to switch up their schemes and their play calling because of Jonah Jackson was very, into the playbook here and studied it, not only offensively but defensively as well. Point. So there's going to be some changes, and hey, the Rams might get, a feel on some of these plays. So again, like Coach said earlier to start the show, we can't get down, can't get rattled. It might not be a home run every time we start a drive. We're just gonna have to figure some things out. And let's be honest, it's the first game of the season, so everyone starts off at an even playing field. I don't care that both their tackles or one's going to be out, Jonah's playing center. We have to play football too. We have to, make it work. So, but I see that as a glaring issue for the Rams with kind of their mixed bag on offensive line, and then Darius Williams going to be out. That's huge. And of course, their tight end, Matt Stafford, really loved to go to Tyler Higbee, and he's not going to go at all. So another big
that's that hurt definitely, but definitely losing Williams to the short-term IR, but nonetheless, he's definitely out for Sunday. So that definitely hurts them. Let's jump into the Lions offense versus the Rams defense, guys. And let's take a look at the Lions offense just on paper here. And Brad, not a lot of losses and not a lot of additions, but really when I put Graham Glasgow as a key addition, I'm really saying he's now the starting left guard, because as we see, and we just talked about, Jonah Jackson is gone and he's on the opposition this week. But adding Kevin Zeitler now at right guard, moving Glasgow over to left guard, and then, to replace Jonah Jackson. And then Josh Reynolds is gone as well. And the Lions have signed Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson to the practice squad, and trying to see if something is working there. Definitely good players there. But overall, Brad, your thoughts on the signing of Zeitler there, and then that starting offensive line, just the offense in general?
Well, this is not going to be a concern for us this year. I mean, this offense is put together very well. Zeitler's got some age on him. But when you start constructing a salary, the salary cap the way they have, to replace Zeitler or to replace Jonah with Zeitler at the rate he came in at, gives you the opportunity to do the things he did with Amon-Ra and Panay and Jared. So shout out to Brad Holmes for that. But I would tell you, we did a lot of hand wringing preseason leading up to it with trying to find that replacement for Josh Reynolds, and we'll see who steps up. My instinct tells me it's going to be Laporta, right? That there's going to. We always kind of just take a look at those receivers and, oh man, we only have these 3 and maybe 4, and guess what? We got Sam Laporta.
It's pretty good.
You're going to have Jahmyr Gibbs out there in unique ways that Ben Johnson is going to use him. So, I'd like to think we replaced Reynolds. I'm not sure if we did with another player, but I think I trust in Ben Johnson to his creativity to keep the ball moving around the field and giving Jared options. So I would tell you, as long as Jared Goff is running the show with these weapons that are in place, it's going to keep our opponents' coaches up all night long, all week long, leading up to their game against the Detroit Lions.
I would say Jameson Williams may raise his
hand.
Man.
Coach.
We have Khalif Raymond. He's gonna be able. He's gonna help us underneath and take some of that stuff. And I tell you what, our guy, this is what Brad Holmes is just known for, is finding in the UDFA market the guy that's led the Big Ten in receptions the last 2 years. That's what Isaiah Williams did.
Mm-hmm.
And the most receptions in the league the last 2 years, more than Marvin Harrison. So he wasn't drafted. We somehow have him. So, and he's, I'm on Ra's understudy. So, I mean, we're loaded to that position. And let's not forget Robinson, Patrick, and DPJ are, going to work out at around 4:00 Sunday and then go back into the street clothes. They're on the team too. So, I mean, we've got those pieces kind of, covered in there. Mm-hmm. And hey, Josh Reynolds got paid. Did he get paid $6 million or something by Denver? And he got paid.
I want to say $8.
I believe it was $8 million.
He's paid because he can be a glue guy. He's really good in the room. He's a great practice player, and he's very sure-handed, minus, a couple of gaffes in the NFC Championship game. I mean, those are the things he's getting paid for. Do those have to get replaced? And is somebody going to have to kind of put up and shut up for that? Yeah. But, with Kevin Zeitler added at right guard, it kind of, that was Jackson's replacement. Yes, Dave, you were absolutely right. If that Graham Glasgow goes to the left guard, but that I guess is how we replaced him.
Yeah, with
another Pro Bowl caliber player that's played in a great organization that can really run the football with the Ravens. Among the other, I think both Ohio teams he played for. So, what are your thoughts, Justin? What do you think about the offensive? What do you see? You see anything different this year?
Yeah, I think you're going to see more explosive plays. I think Jameson Williams he's ready. That's been the talk of camp. He himself said he wants the most catches and the most, touchdown catches this year. He's working, really hard, and we've been kind of waiting to see. I mean, we all scouted him back, before he was drafted, and you're just in awe when you watch those Alabama highlights of him running past SEC safeties and corners and catching the ball on the fly and just taking it to the house. That's what he can do. And then, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta, like Brad said, Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie Baki. So, I mean, it just goes on and on and on of this offense of what they could do. So I think with Ben Johnson's creativity and the way that, they're going to attack games, I see Jared Goff throwing a lot more downfield, and I see a lot more explosive plays happening, big yardage gains.
Drew, what has to exist on that offense this year for us to achieve what we've been talking about? What's one thing that has to exist?
Jared Goff's health. Health injury, of course, is always an issue, but to me, Jared Goff's the one guy. And I'm not saying I don't want to see anybody go down, but Hendon Hooker's a rookie in essence still. He's second year, and it's just that's a risk you can't take.
It's not like putting Nick Foles out there.
Yeah, this isn't a guy that's been there, done that a little bit. So that would be the one thing that would really derail them. That would come to my mind, Coach, honestly. But other than that, this thing's a well-oiled machine. That is the number 1 rated offensive line from Pro Football Focus. They're for real. They're definitely for real. Let's take a look at that Rams defense here, guys, before we kind of talk about how these Lions are going to attack them. But notable additions, Tre'Davious White, as we noted earlier, but Darius Williams as well that we talked about. But unfortunately for the Rams, he's not going to be playing in this game. So that definitely, no pun intended, does hurt. And Cameron Curl, the safety, was also picked up. Notable subtractions. Jordan Fuller at safety. No, actually, it's that Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle, retired. Immediate Hall of Famer as soon as his eligibility's there, and should have been a Lion. But this defense, and then Coach, I want to ask you about this because Baden Fisk was their draft pick, former Bronco, former Florida State Seminole. Defensive tackle. His game and quite frankly his physical as a specimen, he kind of matches up with Aaron Donald. Is he going to be able to plug and play? Obviously not be at Donald's level. What do you see from him?
I mean, he's no Aaron Donald, but the Aaron Donald that played in the playoff game, yeah, he could be, because Aaron didn't have a lot left in the tank at the end. I mean, we were talking about a 6 foot, 290 pound guy that may be the greatest defensive tackle that ever played. I mean, the kind of explosiveness that he played with in there and disruptive nature and playmaking capability on top of it. I mean, those are things you're usually either one or the other as a defensive tackle. You're either a block destroyer, a blocking scheme guy that's going to plug in there and be a plugger and mess up things, or you're going to be able to stir it up and make plays in the backfield and get off blocks and be a pain in the neck that way. Aaron Donald could do both. And, that's not – Braden Fisk is not doing both. Braden Fisk is plugging and playing and creating havoc in there and tangling up blockers. That's what he's got to hope to try to do a little bit in order to be effective in there. The pressure is going to be more on those offensive tackles and the noise that they're going to have to contend with because, and not that McVay and they're not going to have that worked on, going into things. But, this is a stadium that really, it is very difficult to replicate quite how loud it is. It can almost be dangerous to the ear, to your hearing. So I mean, it's a different type of sound that you're going to hear coming out of the Motown sound. The Motown sound of 2025 or 2024 is a little different than perhaps it was in the sweet 60s, as we say. But nonetheless, that's going to be a pain in the neck for those offensive linemen. That's something that's going to be a legitimate issue for those guys, along with Aiden Hutchinson and the other edge guys. Defensively, what does it do? Who's that backup's going to come in there? I mean, he's got that energy, okay? They're going to be feeling it. And, yeah, it's game one. Ben Johnson's had his back to the poker table for the majority of the regular of the preseason because really it's a different looking offense under Hendon Hooker anyway.
Yeah.
There's things that they have not worked on that are going to happen out there. And those are going to be backup defensive backs having to try to stop it. So, yeah, those things being said, Aaron Donald being replaced in the field is not going to happen. Maybe the latter stage Aaron Donald could be replaced to a certain degree. They're going to play good football out there, and they're going to compete against the Lions. But as mentioned with Williams, that could be a big, big problem for them if, he's gets kind of behind the eight ball and makes a few mistakes, whomever that player is.
No, that's a great point, Coach. Justin, how do you think Ben Johnson is going to attack this defense in this game? How do you think what do you think the game plan is in essence to kind of chip away?
I think to start right off, he's going to hit him right in the mouth and see what they got. Like coaches talked about with the insurmountable loss of Aaron Donald, future Hall of Famer, best, probably D tackle ever play the game. That is a huge loss. Even a 50, 60% Aaron Donald, can disrupt, offenses. So they're going to have a big task, the Los Angeles Rams defense. And I think Ben Johnson's going to exploit that. And you're going to see a lot of speed. You're going to see down the field throws. You're going to see the running game, going right at, the defense and the defensive line early on. And you're going to see a heavy dose of Gibbs and Montgomery. Just, if that works to plan, then they're going to, Ben Johnson's going to take it to the air. That's going to be huge. So basically the Rams have to be tasked with, can you stop the bleeding and can you get off the field? Because if they can't get off the field all night or even, the first half, they're going to be on their heels. And that's not going to be good. Like Coach just said, playing at Ford Field and having to deal, with the noise and whatnot and giving up huge explosive plays. That is demoralizing. I don't care if it's the first game or the 18th game or, obviously in the playoffs, that's demoralizing. But you do not want to get behind a Ben Johnson-led offense. So, and I said it last year and it didn't come to fruition. I thought, Hooker, they would have had some trick plays in the NFC Championship game. Don't be surprised if there's some, trickery or Hendon Hooker coming in and shotgun, especially down in the red zone, maybe running the ball in or a little bit of option.
You
just to give them a few different looks, just to throw them off.
Yeah, you never know with Ben Johnson. Hey, Brad, I feel similarly to Justin, but how are you? Do you see? Is there anything specific that you're looking for out of this offense in the first half that's going to maybe set the tone in your mind?
Well, I think the balance is what's going to be the key to the success. And to me, it starts with that O-line in the run game, to Can you imagine what's going through Penei Sewell's mind leading up to the start of that game? You're going to want to run behind that man. You're going to want to get his athleticism moving around the field. I get the sense that punch him in the mouth kind of concept is, to me, is the run game. And that's what's going to open up the pass, because the Rams defense, yes, they've lost Aaron Donald, but to your points earlier, I mean, they've lost more than Aaron Donald, and they're going to be relying on guys who don't have the experience that it's going to take to stop this offense. So, I think I'm looking for a balance in that first half, but I'm going to be very excited to watch Penei Sewell run block and then see what else Ben Johnson has him doing the play after that. So, I do have to temper my thoughts too, because this will not be this is the first half of the first game of the season, right? This isn't week 19 against Tampa after you've done whatever you've done, right? Like, if it doesn't go to plan, don't freak out. You might not,
True.
but I'm sure glad that this team is who I'm cheering for.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And, just to kind of round it up before we hit the other side of the ball here. I think it's going to be really important in my personal opinion, I believe the Lions are going to be able to control this football game on the offense. I truly believe that. Not that I don't respect the Rams defense, but I quite frankly don't think most defenses in the NFL are going to be able to handle the Lions offense. There's just very few teams that'll be able to step up. I mean, those are the elite teams. But the Lions, if they execute, they will control the clock. They will control the game. They'll be their own worst enemy. They are that good. I believe I concur with all of you. They're going to try to control the clock with the run game. They're going to successfully run that football. I think the first half might be a little tough. They might see a little razzle dazzle, like Justin was saying. Might see something like that early on. You never know. But kind of like last year, by the middle of the third quarter, all of a sudden that offensive line finds fifth gear and that defensive line's gassed. And then they just start moving the ball at will and killing clock. And I think that's what's going to be the key, because when we talk about, the Rams offense, that's where you have some concerns. Not that the Lions won't compete here, gentlemen, but the Rams offense is definitely something to contend with. But let's take a look first at the Lions defense. And coach, lot of key additions here. Marcus Davenport starting defensive end now. Amik Robertson, who's starting at the nickel this year. DJ Reader, who we've talked about, is going to be the starting defensive tackle next to Lee McNeil. And then they traded for Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay. He's starting at cornerback. Your thoughts on those additions?
Yeah, along with two of our top 3 draft picks were corners as well. And we really invested in that defensive backfield. This was a unit that needed to improve. There were times where it didn't feel real good. And yes, injuries got the best of us. Our defensive backfield was injured a lot last year. It's new. I mean, the personnel needed to be changed in our defensive backfield. Our secondary was probably not Super Bowl caliber. We have done some changes. Unfortunately, John Kaminsky's done for the year with an unfortunate injury. That's too bad. He's just a great team player and a guy that is not a hero out there. He does the little things that make defenses successful. We have to replace him, and as like C.J. Gardner Johnson was a big emotional, kind of intimidator out there. Farmer Jones isn't with us anymore. We've kind of gone a little bit differently. But guys like Benito Jones and some of these others, were also culprits as to why we did not defend a running quarterback very well. We were very good on interior run, and that wasn't going to be a problem for us, even with some injuries on our defensive line. But a mobile quarterback was going to give us problems. That's not Matt Stafford, but Matt Stafford is a wizard with his arm. I mean, his arm angles, we know. I mean, we've talked about it for a long, long time. and there'll always be great highlights of him here. Is if you wanted to go in position rooms, yes, Matt Stafford was definitely on the Mount Rushmore, with Bobby Lane and probably the guy that we have now, even though he's not been here that long. He's a wizard. He doesn't get frazzled in that noise. He's played in it. He played in eras where the Lions crowd cheered loud when the offense was out there because they didn't know to stay quiet. He was playing during some of those times. So, I mean, he knows what it's like in there. If that's not going to bother him, and he's got a little bit of a bone to pick. I'm fearful of him. I am definitely fearful of him. He can beat you. He has won a Super Bowl. He has a lot of comeback victories. We've seen him score multiple touchdowns in less than 2 minutes. And we've seen him drive basically the length of the field in less than 30 seconds. I mean, those things still exist because that comes off of that right arm. Those offensive tackles being void, that is an awful help. And I am expecting, some improved play out of our defense. We got to rush that passer and we got to stuff the run. Let's take the run away. And, we know that we have to eliminate Matt Stafford's ability to move the football down the field. But if we give them the run game, that gives them an opportunity to manage clock and field position, and that's not good for our offense. So let's stuff that run and let these new players in our position groups and the defensive backs and off the edge be a difference maker.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. Well said. And let's talk about real quick here the Rams offense in terms of additions and subtractions here. So Colby Parkinson is on the team. They signed him to a good contract. They're going to need him, obviously, with Higbee being out. Jonah Jackson, the aforementioned Jonah Jackson, who's going to play center, like Coach said earlier. And they made a basic swap of backup quarterbacks. They dropped Carson. They got rid of Carson once, who was a free agent. And then they signed Jimmy Garoppolo, although Garoppolo's suspended at this point, I believe the first 3 games of the season. And then notable subtract, Wentz is off. And then Coleman Shelton, the center guard, he signed elsewhere as well. But Justin, not a lot of movement on this offense. And, quite frankly, they added as well in the draft, adding a guy we're pretty familiar with in their backfield. Why don't you talk about him?
Yeah, like Coach just said, we are going to have to shut down that run, followed by, Kyron Williams and Michigan's own Blake Corum, who I believe is also going to be returning kicks. So, we've seen a lot of tape on him. Obviously, watched him. I've watched a lot of football with Blake Corum. He does not go down. He can catch the ball very well out of the backfield, even downfield. So we're going to have to be aware of him at all times. So we're not the only ones that have weapons with Montgomery and Gibbs. The Rams and McVay will be very creative, with Blake Corum and Williams, both out of the backfield. And the other 2 guys that we have to limit, you won't be able to stop them completely, is Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Those guys, we cannot let those big plays go downfield or those stretch plays or, it just can't happen. We have to limit those, but, live to fight another day and just don't give up, these huge plays. But, like Coach just said, Matt Stafford is very good, with his arm angles down the field throwing. He can control an offense pretty good. So, and then, Jonah Jackson with that addition, under center, that's a really good football player, and he's going to be able to make adjustments, protection schemes, all that stuff. So it's like having another coach on the field. You're going to have Stafford and Jackson kind of like in control of that offense. But we need to stop Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. If those guys get going, or any of just one of them, it's going to be a long night for Detroit. Yeah,
their offense is tough. Yeah, no doubt about that. And I agree. They're going to try and run the ball. It's the right decision. But Jonah Jackson's knowledge of the playbook is a concern. I want to ask you that, Coach, before I go to Brad here. I want to ask you that, Coach. How concerned are you about Jonah Jackson's knowledge of that offense?
Really, honestly, there are nuances that and some advanced probably things. He's probably not going to do any of the line audibles. That's going to have to be a guard because the backup tackles are in. So typically that does come from the center a lot, but these guys play such high-level football for a long time. I mean, Jonah Jackson's been now in 2 different pro football offensive rooms. He played at Ohio State and Rutgers. I'm thinking it was some technical stuff talked about there. So some of it's concept-based. There's kind of football vocab out there that's a little bit universal. He can work off of some of those premises. And he's got, a Hall of Fame quarterback that he's going to be snapping to that, he knows a little bit and has some comfortability with. Again, he is the center and he's playing in this loud environment that he got to enjoy at his career because they didn't do that for him when he went out there and played. They got quiet when he went out there. So this is new. You have 3 offensive linemen. They're dealing with noise that, Joey Jackson's dealt with noise, but not having to snap the football in the noisiest place on earth, basically. So, I mean, that's it's a concern, but it's going to be the environment on him playing in an unfamiliar position. I think he's got like 30 snaps at the NFL level at center. We're not talking about Mike Webster 2.0, 16 years in the league or something like that, snapping the football. So, he's a little bit limited. He played much more in college at center than he did with in the pros. So, yeah, you bring up some good points.
No, that's great. It's good to hear your perspective on that too, Coach. We have been coaching for how many years now? Over 30 years. So that's impressive. Brad, before we get to our thoughts on the game in terms of predictions, who on the defense kind of impressed you or surprised you? I should say during training camp.
Oh man, Onwuzurike. I mean, for what the kid has gone through since he was drafted and before he was drafted out of Washington with the injuries to still stick it out and put in what he had to put in this offseason to have those results. I'm just thrilled for the guy, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he operates in some, when real bullets are flying. So probably Levi Onwuzurike is the first one that comes to my mind. For the game specifically, if I have any concern or pause, it is the reality that these defensive backfield, they haven't played together ever, and they probably wouldn't have in the preseason as well. But we're going, Matthew Stafford is going to go at 4 or 5 guys who have, they haven't been on the field at the same time. So, I'd rather be playing Stafford maybe later in the season when these guys have it. But these is the real talent. I mean, Vildor is our 6th cornerback. He was starting in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
The skill levels greatly increased. It's just, boy, these guys haven't been out there communicating the way they're going to need to Sunday night.
Just a little point of that I'd like to be able to make. And you won't see it, I don't think. I think you're right, Brad. But you're not going to see it, I don't think, Sunday. But I think some point in time in the season, you will see Terry and Arnold and Brian Branch be brackets together. They'll be safety corner on the same side. They did do that together at the University of Alabama. And you know what their completion percentage was against? 16. Wow. That's why Brad Holmes looked like he may have won $1 billion when he got those two. Because I think that's what he envisions.
Arnold is starting.
It's just going to get better. Yeah, it's just going to get better when those two are the brackets. They're not going to be the brackets. It's like you said. It's going to be Davis and well, he might be one of them. He might be one of them. But I mean, yeah. I mean, the continuity is a concern. Drew, what about the linebackers?
I'll tell you what, their base, when you line up their base defense, it's Campbell on the weak side, Anzalone in the middle, and Barnes on the strong side. Now they're going to play mostly in nickel. So that means
2 linebackers.
Exactly. And, last year I think we're going to see a lot more Jack Campbell. I mean, we certainly heard a lot about him in camp. And we didn't get to see it in the preseason games, and I'm glad because of the, when you get to practice against other squads, and that's invaluable. I don't think I think fans are realizing it very quickly around these parts that does matter. And the Lions got a lot out of that. I think they learned a lot, certainly, from when they were playing the Giants. Little emotional check there, and get it out of your system now. And we've heard none of that since. So I think they're ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say my battery's dying. I got like 3%.
Well, who do you got in this game?
Detroit, baby. It's going to be a lot of points. I think it's going to be a lot of points with our defense trying to gel together. But let's go Detroit. Let's get them. Let's go a 34-28 kind of thing.
All right. Take care, Uper.
On out until my battery dies.
All right. Well, we'll keep you on there. So if you go, you go. We'll get our producer and our staff to cut you out of there real quick. But oops, I went to the wrong there. There we go. See, he sucks. We got to fire that guy. All right. Hey, Coach, who do you got in this one?
I have the same team winning the game as Mr. Bradley Harrison does. I think it's going to be, and I think his winning score is very, very close. I'm going to go 38-21. 38-21. I think we're going to win by 3 scores. I think it's going to be a good football game. I can see it being like a 24-21 type situation or something like that, maybe late in the third, and we finish strong and put them away. But I do feel confident, especially knowing that there's going to be some stalls on the Rams offense because of pressure on the offensive line. The one thing that we have not seen this year, but is the offense really playing of itself. But they've been doing it for 2 months. We just don't see it. So they should get out there all fire. And when you have an offensive line this veteran and this good, it should click. It should click. I don't know why there would be a timing issue. We aren't going to have the noise issues that they have.
Good point.
And you know what? Dave Montgomery's just going to come in there and pound the hell out of you if we have to. So I mean, if it just is going to have to be, that kind of a game, well, we can do that. So I think they'll eventually get it going. But yeah, I think they're going to win by about 17 points.
I like that, Coach. Justin, how do you see this one?
I like my magic number, same as Coach, and I'm up there with Brad too. I'm going to go 38-17. I think our defenses and the crowd noise will be a factor. I think there will be disruptions for the Rams offense, with the crowd noise and just kind of the play calling. It's the first game of the season, and we're going to go through some of those, nuances too and little struggles as well. But this team, our team, Detroit Lions, are just too stacked and too loaded. And, you have Laporta leading the way. That's, I see him making incredible catches and blocking and just everyone just coming together. I really, there's just way too much talent and opportunity on this offense to be bottled up. So I'm going to go 38-17 Lions.
All right. I'm with you guys. I have the Lions winning this one. I'm a little more conservative. 31-20 is how I'm seeing this one. Maybe I guess I'm seeing it as a slower start. Not a bad start, but I think they're gonna just kind of be finding their way with the run game, and I think they're gonna focus on eating that clock, even if it's even a little more vanilla. But I think in the second half we're gonna see something, and the defense is gonna make plays when necessary. I think the pass rush is a big right. Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport and James Houston. Those ears are going to get pinned back, fellas. I mean, they're ready, and maybe Jack Campbell too. Maybe Brian Branch. It's awesome to think about it, really. So yeah, 31-20 is how I see it. I think we're all consensus 30+ points here. So let's see what happens. But yeah, confident. I'm really confident they're going to win this football game. To be honest with you, fellas.
It'll probably be 7-3.
But, I don't care. So it's a W. It's a W. Hey, guys, any parting thoughts or anything we want to bring up before we close this one out, fellas?
It's been it's a lot of fun doing this with you guys. Let's do about 20 more times, 21 more times, well into the month of February, and have a great time in doing it. But yeah, this is it's a great time of the year. Football's I kind of live a football life. And it's sometimes it's not very easy because it's a lot of time spent, looking at video and whatnot. But this is what it's all about. And I know like Jim Leland, our great former manager of the Detroit Tigers, had a wonderful speech at Cooperstown when he was inducted. And at the end, he could barely get through it because he talked about, really what it's about. And it's going to be about those 65,000 people that are going to pack that stadium and make it absolutely crazy for Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. That's what NFL football is about. It's not about trips to Brazil. It's not about the Pro Bowl games. It's not. It's about fans packing stadiums and being able to afford it and have one hell of a time. And that's going to happen on Sunday night.
Looking forward to it, guys. Awesome talking to you guys. Love talking football, but it's just great seeing you all. This is our 7th year here, and looking for great things from the Detroit Lions. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want to see. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care. Thanks for watching. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.